I would say showing up is, step one of one, and that's a challenge. However, that second step as an introvert is like, what, talk to people? Wait, what do you mean talk to people, right?
Right.
Uh, However, the other piece of that too is and this is where I think we have maybe just a little bit of a disconnect in what's going on just in our own thought processes. Is it's a polo event or any kind of event where there's dozens and dozens of people around. I assure you, you're not the only introvert in the room,
Right.
right? So find your kindred spirits out there, and one way to go about doing that is, as you said, to engage and to ask the questions and to admit, "Hey, I don't know what I don't know,"
Yes.
and have others show you, and just start to share and talk about those different things. I think makes such a huge difference in self belief, the trust in yourself, that you can engage and maintain those conversations and share knowledge, and just all of that starts to just naturally flow. And looking at it from an introvert's chair, that's where you start to lay the foundation to build onto the next step and onto the next step.
Yes.
And you mentioned putting a system together. Would that be kind of how you see the foundational pieces of your system? And then, if so, where do you take it from there?
So yeah, those are the first thing is show up, and then yeah, break it down to steps. So for example, when you walk into the room, I would say, because you want to know your body language, so I have all these little steps. So like your body language, I call like, so cape walk. So you walk like you're wearing a cape. So because if you're walking like you're wearing a cape, you're not going to be slouched over. You're going to walk with, so your cape is draping correctly. So when you enter the room, you walk as though you're wearing an imaginary cape. And in my workshops, I actually hand capes out to everybody, and we walk around the room so you can see the difference. And so then you'd walk in like that, and then I say you'll look for the food. There's either going to be like some crackers or cookies or something. The food, the drinks, go there, and then because you got to do something with your hands, right? Like, what do I do with my hands? So let's say you could have a pen in your hand and a notebook, or whatever material of the event, and then the other hand you can have like a saucer with 3 cookies on it. Eat one of the cookies and then just have the other two there, just so you have something to do. And then the drinks. And if you're by the food, that's a good conversation starter. You can ask about the food. Oh, hey, I didn't know that it's caviar here. Huh, interesting, fancy. Who knew? Whatever. Or say it's oatmeal raisin. Does anyone really like those? Anything like that. Have you tried this? Have you seen? And then you'll observe your surroundings. You can talk about anything you see. So on somebody, you can say, "I like your eyeglass frames. I like." Or have you been to the men's room? They have art there. They must really trust us. There's art on the walls. I don't see too many men's room with the art on the walls. The temperature. It's really hot in here. Do they? I saw a movie in the '80s where they turned up the temperature to try to get everyone to take their clothes off, and it didn't work. But is that what they're trying to do with us? Do they want us to take our clothes off in here? Is that why it's so hot? There's all kinds of things that you can do from there. And then if that step, if you go to the food and nobody is over there, it's not working, then you're going to scan the room for other people like you. The introvert, shy, and socially awkward people are going to be on the edges somewhere, maybe looking at their phone, pretending like they're doing something, looking at what the Kardashians are doing or something. I don't know, And so you'll see them and go, oh, you'll recognize that's one of my people right there, and then you go and engage with them. I call it like rescuing them. I got to go rescue that person, and they're going to be happy that you came over because they're freaking out over there, going, oh, I don't know what to do. So then you go over and you engage, and now you have something going on. So it's just little things like this. Also, another quick thing is if there's a bunch of tables and you get there, I always also say get there a little early, because if you get there late, then you're limited on where you can mingle and sit. But if you get there early, you can watch people come in and decide who you want to try to meet as they're coming in. And you already look like you know what's going on because you're already there. You don't have to walk in looking confused. And then if there's an empty table, I call it king of the table, or you could call it queen of the table, whatever. And so instead of sitting at I could go sit at someone else's table where they're starting to gather, or I say, okay, there's an empty table, more people are coming in. I'm going to sit by myself at this table, and then people will come and sit with me. And then, so there's all these little things like that These little steps that you can do that you actually can do. No matter how shy you are, you can sit alone at a table and then wait for people to sit with you.